Welcome, welcome. Oh boy, do we have an economic beast of a game to show you today. It is Incorporated. Now, as CEOs of multinational corporations, our aim is to profit, no matter what the cost in this economic global warfare. It's heavy, it plays 2 to 4, and it plays in the region of 80 to 180 minutes. And we can see the designer and the publisher there as well. Okay, buckle in and let's take a closer look. Here we go then. We have got this global economic battlefield. We've got a two-player setup. We've got Big Brother in red there who have the special ability to look at these outlook cards. We've got the green player here who will be the first player, which is massive. Now we have various major players: United States, Eurozone, Russia, Japan, China, India, and Brazil. And those are where you can go and invest and buy these shares to be able to get more influence and assets across these areas and spread out across the board, potentially to these minor countries here as well. Now, the first thing you are going to do is the outlook phase, and there is 4 cards drawn from 10, so a lot of variety, but only 4 rounds, and so you would reveal this top card, and the Big Brother would do this, and in this case, India emerging as a global power. Now, the game's sort of mid-play. There's a lot of things which wouldn't look like this at the beginning, and a lot more cubes out there, but they get to unlock a square in India. Boom, they put on these neutral black tokens on one of those spots. The global growth would go at 4, the interest rates would go down 4, stress would go at 1, and then they get to change a minor country in a third world zone. So you can see the green for America, Europe in blue, we've got third world here in sort of browny grey, and then China in red there. So they get to move one of these minor countries of an affiliation of NATO to one of these SCO ones. So I'll go through that in a moment. You discard this, and then depending on where world growth worked out, it went down or up, you would get payoff cards. So in this case, let's say it was on 4%, it tells you at the bottom you reveal 7 of these payoff cards, and I've already got 7 out there. They do get discarded from round to round, so let's say we draw those, and this is the state of play. The demand in this particular round, what is the economy favouring? They're after energy because there's 3 of them out there. So you as a global corporation want to go and invest in various countries that offer energy, and hopefully 2 times energy if his R&D mark is there, which is currently on tech. Now sometimes, depending on this demand and the cycle of these cards, there's 6 of each industry in there. There might not even be any mining, and you're heavily invested in mining, so maybe you want to sell your shares to remove those cubes and buy in other sectors to put cubes out to then invest in energy. So this is going to really fluctuate from round to round. So that is the outlook phase then. We then move over to investment, which is where the first player is going to take one of their 4 workers in a 2-player game. Now, these do change depending on the player count. Now, we're going to send it out to one of these large major markets. And why? Because we want to try and buy or maybe sell secretly one of these shares we have. So let's say we go to the United States, and we're potentially going there because there's an energy available. Now, we're not actually purchasing or placing yet. That happens in the competition stage. But the more shares and investment we have in an area, the more cubes that will come out of our colour when we get to competition stage, which will make sense in a moment. So we open the bid then at 3 or higher in dollars. So we're going to go 10. Then it's only a 2-player game. So the next player is like 12. These guys are like 14. Reds take it for 15. Greens pass them. So they pay their money. They would take one of these S&P 500s. Now you need shares available to be able to go to one of these locations and start the bidding. They add that to their portfolio. They pay the money to the bank, and one of their cubes gets to go in one of these locations of their choice, which they're going to go for energy. Now here's the interesting aspect. This player won. It then has a reverse bid to sell a share for all the other players who did not participate or not participate, but who did not win. So reds are out. And in terms of reverse bidding, in a 2-player game, there's only green. So the winning bid was 15. You go to the next lower bid amount, which is 14 in this case. Yours just reduced by 1. So greens have the option, if they do have an S&P share, to sell this
for 14 back to the supply and attain money. And it might have been their strategy to go there to get the other player to up the bids, and actually end up with one of those shares so these guys could sell it for maximum returns. Now, let's say they sell it, boom. They get the money, add that to the portfolio. Now, like when you buy an investment, you place one of your assets, they have to remove one. So let's say the Greens remove this one, which probably may not have been the case. They wanted some influence there. And that is buying and selling in the public markets. Now, there is a way to sell privately amongst players. You can go to tax havens and you can pick one of your shares, let's say the S&P 500, and you offer it at a minimum bid of, let's say, 15. They've bought it on the previous terms of 15. Now they want to try and sell it because other players are like, actually, I should have had it. And another player goes, no, I do not want to bid on that. And that's essentially a pass for their turn. Let's go back to green and they go, right, I'm off to India. They make a bid of, if there's any shares available, of whatever it may be, let's say 6, it goes 8, it goes 10. Green buy it for 10. They place one of their cubes out, take the share, and done. Red is up. They come back in. They're like, right, I want to sell this now for 8, and the other player's like, yeah, I'll take that 9. It goes to 10, 11, depending if it's 3-4 player game, and then you sell that to that player. You give them the money. Now, interestingly, that player who purchased it gets to remove a cube of their choice of the player they took it from. So in this case, reds, the green, would take one of these reds of their choice. So they may do some more harm than you actually intended. So they take, say, the energy one off, and you're left with just 2 finance. So that's the risk of selling one of those shares in the private markets. Last thing you can do here is just pass, where you send all your workers to the tax haven and you are out there. So that was an investment, buying and selling in privately or the public markets to attain these, which now in competition, depending on how many you have in various locations, so we've got 3 in China, you are going to get your cubes and put 3 on the left hand column here in China, your influence there. So you go through all your shares and you place these cubes out. So let's just say, I'm not going to do it accurately, there's a couple here, and you would have taken these dudes back. We will take a few reds for demonstration. So you put them across the board. Now, what can you do in competition? You can fight, you can defend, you can move, and you can, which is called expand, and you can pass. So let's say we are going to fight. You could just move, say greens were up, you can do 2 fights. And what's that mean? You can either move a cube from the left into one of these empty areas of your choice. Done. We've moved. We're looking at here, go right, we're going straight into energy. Maybe we want to move something over here as well. So we've got 2 chances to do this. We go into mining. And that's it. That's our fight done. Next player goes up. Maybe they want to fight as well. And they're like, right, I really want to take over this tech industry here. Now, the battle zone for market share is 1 for 1 in this game, but they can't just go and take over that tech because green has kind of defense here. They've got 2 of their green tokens and you have to take them out first. So maybe reds are going, right, 1 for 1, that is 1 fight done. Another 1 for 1. So they haven't actually got enough influence to come and manipulate the green there. Now, if they didn't want to do that, they could have just fought like we did previously and actually go into the industry sectors themselves. But then you're leaving green that power play where they can be like, right, when they go to fight, they're just going to knock out, this finance one here and then sneak in themselves for the second one. So some really clever interplay there. The second action we've got is defend. So let's just say you got your 4 workers here and you are trying to really defend. Let's put some red here. Well, let's say there's no red. Red sends their worker there. Now, if green attacks on the future turn and they really wanted this finance one, they're going to have to go through this meeple first. So they're going to have to take him out 1 for 1 and then they can do 1 for 1 on that finance. Now, these meeples, they're just there to defend. You can't use them to attack. And if you did have one of your cubes there as well, the green can choose which one they want to take out first. So maybe they want to knock out this cube here to prevent that player from going into one of those markets there. And you've got expands. So say you've got this cube here, you pay $1 and you can move up to 2 places. Now you can split that movement. So you go one here, one over here, or you could just do one of these cubes, 2 locations. Now movement, be very mindful of the affiliations across the board. So these guys can move through the arrows to Latin America because it's NATO and NATO. They could they move to the Gulf states through this arrow here? Yeah, that's NATO and NATO as well. Could they move to South Sea? Yes, we can. We can move into a battleground, but you cannot move out of a battleground until that affiliation is changed and you can move to the various matching one. Now, if you are in, say, the Eurozone here, you can go to United Kingdom, Scandinavia, but you can't go to Eastern Europe because it's SCO affiliated. So bear in mind where the arrows lead to. United Kingdom can go all the way to Australia here, and be mindful of those affiliations. So that is expanding. Final thing you can do is pass, which is where you send all your meeples to the tax havens and you are done. Over to lobbying. So once again, at the end of that round, you take all of your meeples back. So they're used from round to round. And what can you do at lobbying then? Power plays then. So each of these main areas on the board, we've got America, Europe, Asia, and Third World. You can send one of your dudes to one of these locations. Let's go America. And you are trying to change the power play of this particular region. So you look for the battleground region, and this is where you are focusing on South America. Now let's just say you want to turn this to NATO. You're going to roll this dice, 5, and you're going to plus currently 1 for NATO. Now if this was back here, you'd be taking 2 off because the global power of play is in favour of SCO. So at the moment, it's 5 plus the 1 is 6. You would then add the stability number of 4 plus the 1 for SCO is 5 versus the NATO of 6. NATO will place one of their tokens on and they have taken control of that region. Now, if that was a green player, they would kick out whatever cube's there, or if it's just empty, and place one of their cubes there instead. You would then replenish or replace you form a new area where the battlefield token is going to have to go. So there's always going to have to be a battlefield token unless the whole area is affiliated with one type. So in this case, where are we? America's the only opponent here is going to be Brazil. So we place that one there. Now let's say they went for SCO. They rolled this one and it's a 5 again. 2 5s. Now you can see 5 plus the 1 because SCO there is 6. 4 plus the 1 power for NATO again is 5. So 6 versus 5. This becomes an SCO state. That player places their green there, and the loser, which is obviously NATO in this case, the new battleground would go on one of these NATO ones for America. So we'll go Latin America there. It doesn't have to be connected. It could be Canada, and United States and China never actually get challenged. They're too powerful to change hands. So that is power plays. Now let's say green went there, red went here next. They can only pick one of the 3 remainders. So they went Asia, did exactly the same thing with the current battlefield, which is South Sea. Green's up next, and they want to do the same action. And they're like, right, you can do multiple times, but there's only Third World and Europe remaining. What else have we got? We've got tax havens. So if you send a worker there, you then take a cube with you as well. And that is literally allowing you on the next round, when you come to competition, to move this cube to any location with the cost of $1 per 2 movement. And the reason that is because let's say you're heavily invested this side of the board and you can't access China or Japan, you could move this asset over there to potentially influence and get into certain industries. Central banks then allow you to move the interest rates by 2 or the stress. Is it stress? What we got? Central banks, yeah, or the stress by 2. Interest rates or the stress by 2. So you might be like, right, I want to pay these corporate bonds off cheaper. You move that 2. Or maybe it's too stressful. You move that 2. Either or. Next thing you can do is budget. Now, I should add that power plays and tax havens, you go tax havens as many times as you want, but you don't actually cover this spot up. Central banks, you actually have to cover up, and that's one-time use. No one else can go there then, so it's only happening once. A budget then is where you are going to be either moving the global growth down 1 or up 1. If you go down 1, you get to pick one of these payoff cards you're going to remove, which could massively impact the profits of another player or limit the losses of your own maybe. Or if you go up, you're going to take an additional payoff card add it here, and potential for more profits. We have got R&D then. If you go here, you get to move this token, which is a ×2, to any other of the major markets which have a stability of 5, and you might put it here for energy, and that is in your favor because you've got 2 energy tokens. The last one we can go to is subsidies, which is where you take 3 of these cards from the top of the deck and you get to swap out one of these for one of these, influencing what the demand is in the market there. And that is all of the action. So each player goes, right, I'm going here, next player, boom, clockwise. And once you've got rid of all your workers, you go to earnings. Now, firstly, you check to see if there's a crisis, if the economy is in downfall. And how you do that is you add up the current percentage of global growth, if it's 4%, so 4 plus 0, because of the stress level, is 4. We're rolling this 12-sided dice. Now, if it's lower, whatever the difference is an impact on the global economy. So 4 is the marker, 8 is higher, the market is stable, the economy is stable. Now, if this was, say, at 7 and stress is at 2, you have got 9, and let's say we've rolled a 10, the market is stable. Well, let's say we roll a 3. 9 minus the 3 is 6. There's been a devastation, a massive impact. You would knock global growth 6 down. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You would move the interest rates as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as far as you can go. And the difference, which was, what did we say, was 6. You would, in a 2-player game, shuffle these up and you would discard 6. So these businesses aren't paying the profits you'd planned. And you can see the paying off these loans is going to cost you more, and you're only getting 4 payoff cards out. Now, interestingly, in a 3-player game, the giant squid comes into play. And these guys get to pick which of those cards will be discarded if the economy goes into downturn. In a 4-player game, we've got old money who would actually have more of these workers out because it goes down to 2 in a 4-player game, whereas they would have 3. You then, after the stress levels, bring this back to 0 if it have had a downturn, and you go to earnings. So how are earnings going to work? So throughout the game, you'll have been collecting these tiles. Now, you can see on the board, Reds have a finance, they got a tech, a heavy, they got an energy, and so on. And you take one of these for each particular type of area. So you can see, you got free tech, you got stacks of these, and these multiplied by the number of cards out. So in this case, if I had 2 energy, I'm going to get a payout at the end of the round. 2 times the free cards is $6. And you do that for each industry. You add up all your money, and that's your income you get from the bank. Now, if you are the leader in an industry, let's say you've got 3 energy tiles and your opponent's only got 2, and you're the leader in that market, you're going to get an extra $1 in a 2-player game. And that is your income for that round. You then have to pay interest off of $1 for each corporate bond you have. And then you have the opportunity to pay these back depending on where you are on the interest rate there. Now, these corporate bonds can be taken at any time during phases 2 and 3, but can only be paid back after the interest at number 5. And the more of these you take, the less money you're going to get paid out in bonds. So if you've not got a corporate bond, boom, and you decide to take one, you get 15. If you already have one and you want another, you're only going to get 14. People have lost their faith in you for giving you all these loans. And that is it. You then go back to Outlook 1, do the Outlook card. Big Brother has that ability to look at this when no one else can see it. So you play out the 4 rounds. After the 4 rounds are up, you will get $5 for each cube you have on the board. In a 2-player game, if you're a leader in an industry, you'll get $5 as well. You will add up all your money, and you will also have to pay those bonds off. So if you have any of these remaining, you're paying top dollar, folks. You're paying $20 back for each one. You add up all your money, whoever has the most money is the winner. What an absolute minefield of various things going on. These are fluctuating the balance of power. I can't get to certain locations because they're SEO controlled. I'm going to have to use this power play, but I need to go to tax havens to get more cubes out here where I haven't been able to access. But I want to influence these of central banks and budgets. Maybe I want to get that sneaky R&D just to get a double bonus there. Subsidies, how powerful is that? Choosing and discarding one of those. So loads of juicy things to do, and those simple yet very powerful actions. First player, looking at the Outlook cards, giant squid impacting that. loads of fascinating things here. And that auction, I've not even really delved into that. The ability to manipulate what people are going to bid and buy, and then you get to sell on that reverse bidding. Loads of juicy stuff going on here. If you want that economic simulation, give this one a go, folks.